Testing. So as you can see, the valve head itself has been placed on top of the engine block, and all these bolts here have been placed and they need to be torqued down. And the way you torque something is there's a specific sequence where the number 1 and then the number 2 bolt and then the number 3 bolt and so on. And so by the diagram, this is the number 1 bolt, and what you do is you take what's called a torque wrench and you set it. In this case it's set to the final setting, which is 100. You put it on the bolt and then you pull it until it clicks. That click means it's at 100 psi, and you do all of the bolts first of all with the setting of 80, then 90, and then finally with 100. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to have to turn the engine, and as we turn the engine, the valve lifters and the rocker arms will push down on certain valves. You can see it's pushing down here on one, and depending on the sequence for this particular engine, it's like when the number 1 cylinder, which is up front here, you can see the valves opening and close. The number 6 here will be completely closed. At this point, we're going to adjust with a feeler gauge the input, which will be this one here, to 15, and then the exhaust to 18. And we'll do that by adjusting these little screws here. So once that happens, then we know that the valve clearance is correct. I'm taking a little piece of grass out of here. Right, there it is. And so we'll adjust these so it gets the proper clearance. And then what we'll do is we'll turn the engine, and again watch how these valves react. And when the number 5 pushes down here, then we'll know to adjust the number 2 valve. So the way it works is when you turn the engine, and this is the number 3, 1, 2, 3, when these 2 valves start to move, these guys here, as you can see, are as loose as they're going to get. So when they're loose like this, these springs are all the way up top and the valves are shut. These guys here are starting to open the valves. So when you see these guys move, you know that these guys here are not being compressed at all, and that's when you adjust these guys. So let me show you the movement. So you're going to be watching this set right here, and I think you saw this one here move. I'm going to go ahead and do it again. So in this one, the number 3 guys are moving, these guys aren't, and this is where you adjust them. You put this feeler gauge under here, and it's just got to barely fit. So when it doesn't, then what you do is you turn this nut here so that it brings this down close, and that's how you adjust the gap for that. Okay, so the next part in the assembly, we've got all the gaskets put on the intake manifold. This is the exhaust manifold, and I also have the valve cover. So what we're going to now do is put the gasket sealer on this side and then install the pieces, and we'll show you what they look like.